Hello and welcome to the Jake Gilbert Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. And I'm going to guess I have a pretty happy head coach today. A 36-0 homecoming victory, a shutout of a very good and a very high-powered Denison offense. First time Denison has been shut out since 2018 when they played Mount Union in the playoffs. First homecoming shutout by Wabash since 2016, and first shutout of any kind since last year's shutout win over Kenyon. I mean, how thrilled were you to finish the game and see 0 on the scoreboard on their side?
It's pretty awesome, to be honest with you. We always prioritize playing and subbing. So, truth be told, when you get to your 2s and 3s, and sometimes it's just really hard to keep a shutout. So, and obviously, even if you are dominant on that day, gosh, any team can break a play, and so it's pretty difficult to get a shutout. The week before, we played great defense, but we gave up 7 points. So you never really expect it, but you always are battling for it. When it gets close, you start thinking about, like, man, that would be sweet if we could get it. So I was so encouraged that we held the line not only with our 1s, but our 2s and 3s.
Well, and speaking of holding the line, very early your defense got a test. Denison got the ball inside the 5-yard line, first and goal, and you had talked about wanting to have a stout red zone defense, and that was certainly a stout performance by that group, holding them out of the end zone on 4 consecutive plays to maintain the shutout early in the ballgame.
Yeah, well, it was actually 5 because Rupert got a personal foul and we had to play an extra down. But that's okay. Made it all the more enjoyable. A goal line stand just really breaks the spirit of any team. And so for us to turn those guys back, run, pass, whatever they tried, that's pretty hard on a team. And so our goal line defense has been really good. It's maybe a little bit higher in the red zone that we struggled so far this year, but I was believing that we could do that down there, and I think our team did as well, but I was ecstatic that we actually got it done and held them out. That was a big momentum piece for the entire football game.
Well, while we continue to talk about the defense in that game, let's go ahead and look at some highlights from Saturday's win. And one of the really big highlights that we'll see here in just a moment, that was the great touchdown pass that Brent Campbell threw, and we'll talk about his offensive performance in just a little bit. But one of the big highlights of the game was the interception by Gage Gully. He read that play perfectly, was actually looked like in a zone covering a couple of different players, and read the back coming out of the backfield, stepped in front of the pass, and took it 52 yards for a touchdown. Talk about his play on that particular situation.
Yeah, well, here it is right here. So you can see the quarterback looks away, and he doesn't really check when he comes back. And we rolled down into a cover 3 look, and the disguise got him. And so Gage honestly just had to step in front of the pass and take it the distance from there. But I think we were able to fool a very good, very smart quarterback. That does not happen very often. And so we took it. There's Gavin Rupert on one of our sacks. We really just needed the quarterback to be uncomfortable. He's a great player who had 350 yards of offense against us the year before. So to pressure him, to get the pick 6, all of that was critical for our win.
Well, and you had talked about that with Steve Hoffman before the game, because that came up in the keys to the game. And the guys mentioned all throughout the broadcast that he just never was able to get settled in the pocket, was never able to get comfortable, couldn't really find receivers. So it was a combination of the pressure you put up front, and again, great coverage on the back end by your defensive backs and linebackers out in coverage.
Yeah, we had a pretty good, I thought we had a good plan, to be honest, where we wanted to take away some of the quick rhythm throws. And once he got out of a rhythm, I think he just had a hard time finding it again. Last year we tried to take away the running back, who was Conference Player of the year before, and we let the quarterback, as a freshman, just kind of go off, and that was not necessarily the plan, but we did take away who we intended to take away, but it almost cost us. This year it was really about him, and we did a pretty good job disguising, taking away easy throws, and getting some pressure to him.
Well, in combination with taking him away, you still didn't allow their running game to do anything. And they came in with a pretty good running back that had some success in the first 2 games for Denison. And you held their entire running game to, again, a very minimal amount of yards. You keep holding teams to about a yard or less per carry. What's been the success to the run defense for Wabash?
We've been pretty strong in that area. I mean, good defensive linemen. That's the key. Great defensive linemen. So Trevor Ings, I don't know that he always shows up in the stats for the impact that he makes. And his ability to patrol the middle has been extraordinary. We have 2 great senior defensive ends, and Jerry McBee and Brody Fry. And so those guys put pressure on any offense, run or pass, but they're excellent run players. And then, Samuel Praya, Solomon Marcelo, those guys are freshmen who are really making plays and fitting right into that defense as well. And then right behind them, one of the school's all-time leading tacklers, Gavin Rupert, who always knows where the ball is and seems to find his way there. So that helps a lot.
We mentioned Gage Gully. He was the Defensive Player of the Week for the North Coast Athletic Conference, or Defensive Athlete of the Week for the conference. And then Brent Campbell with another solid performance, 207 passing yards, a couple of touchdown passes to Cannon Chase. He also led you in rushing with over 50 rushing yards on the ground, as you really mixed in a lot of different rushing plays with the quarterback and Xavier Tyler, Cole Dickerson, Javon Gary getting a different mix there in the backfield. What has continued to allow Brand to excel at the level he has?
Brand's just a playmaker. So, some guys make the right play every time. Some guys make the right play most of the time, but then also get off schedule and off script and make other plays, and that can be a little more boom or bust. Well, Brand, to me, is making the right play the vast majority of the time, and that's important. But then in addition to that, he just has the ability to extend plays, make plays with his feet. He's ran for a lot of yards. A lot of those are scrambles, which again, there's good and there's bad in that. Maybe you're not protecting. Maybe the quarterback's not going where the ball should go or on time. So sometimes it's not all good, but he is making positive plays with his feet. And then just he and the receivers have a great chemistry. The amount of acrobatic catches we've made this year where Brand has put the ball where only the receiver can really catch it, and then the receiver does make the play. We've been blessed with a lot of that, but also credit where credit's due, that Brand and the receivers have made those plays, and that's accounted for, several huge plays and conversions and yards on our year.
Well, you really set up my next question. I was going to ask you about the depth and the talent of this receiving core. So when you've got a player playing at a high level at quarterback, and then you've got a lot of tools around him and a lot of talent for him to be able to throw to, it really has to frustrate a defense because there's nobody that you can just say, that's his guy and we're going to shut him down. And 1 week it's Luke Adams. Last week it was Cannon Chase. And everyone is contributing in that receiving core, including the running backs.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been pretty proud of the distribution of the ball. I think that's a good thing for the culture of your team. And so I don't know really who you would focus on against us. Like you said, Cannon had the huge game this past week. He's been extraordinary. Luke has had some enormous moments and has been tremendous. Connor Chase has been great. TJ as tough as can be. Carson Chad has a 2-touchdown game from week 1. Cole Dickerson out of the backfield had almost 100 yards receiving 1 week. And so I think each week it's played out a little bit differently through the air, and I think that makes us pretty hard to defend.
And of course, Brent Campbell, the Offensive Athlete of the Week for the conference, so it's a sweep for Wabash in those awards. Now you get to shift gears. You are headed north to the Cleveland area. Normally that means Hiram or Oberlin, and you've got to be ready to play teams like that, but it's a game you feel comfortable about. You're going into battle on Saturday. John Carroll, their first year in the conference, they are a top 25 program, as is Wabash, now that we just were ranked 25th in the American Football Coaches Association poll. But It's a very solid program, has had years of success in the OAC. They're talented again. Their quarterback's completing 80% of his passes. They've got a lot of weapons. They've got on both offense and a very solid defense. What are you expecting from this game on Saturday?
A fight. They are excellent. So, we have to have a championship mindset, and mentality before reality. So we're not showing up just happy to take part here. We're going to take over. So we are definitely respecting those guys. They are an excellent football team. And obviously their past results are because they've been excellent in the past as well. So we a lot to like about their team. When you see them on film, they have some tremendous players. They have a really tough to defend scheme offensively. Defensively, they're just so solid. And it's kind of hard to see holes anywhere. They're not going to make big mistakes in special teams or anything. So not a lot of weaknesses, to be honest, Brent. So we're going to have to win in some kind of collective effort where, as a team, we're better because they're not going to give us anything, and they have some amazing football players and clearly a very well-coached football team.
What will be the keys for the Little Giants on Saturday?
We can't get confused by the offense, all the shifts and formations and the complexity of all that. We can't give up something easy where we're misaligned, and they put a lot of strain on you that way. So that would be one. And then we got to settle in and play defense. They have an explosive wide receiver. They've got a tight end with 6 touchdowns. They've got a couple good running backs. The quarterback is completing 82% of his passes, which is almost a video game number. And so, we're going to have to settle in and play great, but we can't give them something cheap in addition. And then on offense, we got to take care of the ball better. We've just turned the ball over too much. And so for us to win a game like this, I think we're going to have to win the turnover battle. They're not going to fold if we're -3 like this past Saturday.
One other area that may be really important on Saturday, and it's something we need to mention from this past Saturday's game, Brody Rucker ties a record that was set before either one of us were here at Wabash.
Sure,
We've both been here for a long time.
40-year record.
I had one of the all-time great performances in Monon Bell games, Joe Bebelheimer, who kicked 5 field goals in the 1984 Monon Bell game. And Jim was relaying this story on the broadcast when I went in to make sure they knew it was a record that Brody Rucker tied on Saturday with his 50-yard field goal. Joe had kicked a 49-yard field goal to set the Wabash record in that Bell game, and then kicked a 50 the next time. So a great performance by him, but it was a great effort. And Brody's had plenty of distance. That one didn't sneak over the goalpost. It was well good from 50 yards. How important is it to know you've got that kind of a weapon in your arsenal should this be a tight game late in the ball game?
Critical, because if we win this football game, it will be a tight game. We're not going to go over there and beat this team by 2 scores or something like that. It would be a close game. And so having a kicker who can get you 3 from that distance, that's a 40-year record. Joe Bebelheimer came to practice yesterday to congratulate Brody. That was pretty neat. And that's pretty special, I think, 40 years. So, having a guy who can make a 50-yard field goal, like you said, good from probably 54, our confidence in him is obviously very high. I didn't hesitate to send him out there. I wasn't thinking about school records or whatever. I just wanted to get 3 points, and I thought that he could make it from that distance, and he did. So, very confident. Glad he's on our team.
Well, that game against John Carroll will be this Saturday. It's a 2:35 start. 2:30 with their broadcast open, and then kickoff will be at 2:35. Links to the broadcast and live stats are on the Wabash College website at sports.wabash.edu. There's also a link to ticket information. There is a Wabash tailgate. You can find some of that information on the Wabash College football parents page on Facebook. It will be a little bit of a walk from the tailgate area. Parking is a little tight around their stadium. It's a smaller campus in terms of parking availability. but there is an area set aside for Wabash College tailgaters on Saturday. If you're going to join us in person, we hope you will. Coach, thank you so much for the time as always, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you. Wabash always fights.
You've been watching The Jake Gilbert Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. For Adam Phipps in the truck, for Colin Krause, who's upstairs producing with us here in the stadium, I'm Brent Harris. We'll talk to you next week.